Is all set? Okay. Mike? Is all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Village of Alsip board meeting. Today is January 15th, 2018. We'll call this meeting in order at 7:30 p.m. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Trustee McGreal? Here. Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Pierce?
Here.
Trustee Zelinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez? Here. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with the officers' report, starting with myself. I'd like to take a moment just to recognize today is Martin Luther King Day. I'd like to read a little something that, some of which was in the paper today, but a couple things I picked up on I thought were kind of informative. Martin Luther King Jr. was an American Baptist minister, an activist who became the most visible spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement. He's best known for his role in his advancements of civil rights using the tactics of nonviolence and civil disobedience based on his Christian beliefs and inspired by the nonviolent activism of Gandhi. Whether you spent Martin Luther King Day honoring the man or simply enjoying the day off of work, you can thank the late Chicago Mayor Harold Washington for making it happen. Illinois can proudly claim to have been the first state in the nation to honor King with a state holiday, largely because of Washington's efforts, but it wasn't a straightforward fight, and not all Illinois politicos consider themselves in glory. Washington, a state senator at the time, began pushing for a state holiday soon after King's 1968 assassination. By 1971, he had successfully pushed through a bill through both sides of the houses in Springfield that would have made January 15th a state holiday, but the bill was vetoed by Republican Governor Richard Ogilvie, who said he would only go along with a federal holiday. The election of Democratic Governor Dan Walker in 1972 gave Washington a fresh chance, though 16 representatives, including Judge Harry Lineweber, who currently sits as Ronald Reagan's appointee in the U.S. District Court of Chicago, voted against the new bill brought by Washington. It again passed both houses. This time Walker signed the bill into law, but on the very same day the governor also sent a more ambiguous message about equality by signing a law that banned the state from ordering busing to achieve racial balance in the schools. Washington became a leading national advocate for a federal Martin Luther King Day, but paid the price for attending a celebration in 1981. Determined to spend King's birthday at a service in Chicago, he was not in Springfield for a crucial vote at which opportunistic Republicans took advantage of his absence to grab minority control of the Senate presidency. Fellow Democrats were not happy, but an unrepentant Washington said, "I got a call from the Democrats in Springfield urging me to come there to help them in a struggle for the control of the Senate, but I told them I had something more important to do." President Reagan was against establishing Martin Luther King Day as a federal holiday, writing in a letter that King's reputation was based on an image, not reality. But in 1983, just months after Washington had been elected Chicago's first black mayor, Reagan reluctantly signed a federal Martin Luther King Day into law. More than 3 decades have passed since Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday became a national holiday across America, but it took decades of campaigning for King's civil rights legacy to be immortalized as a paid public holiday. In 1968, Congress was presented with a petition signed by more than 3 million people supporting demands for a holiday. Initially, President Reagan resisted plans to make King's birthday a public holiday, urging it would lead other groups and leaders to seek similar concessions. Republicans also claimed they were concerned King had an inappropriate sexual past and links to communism. But faced with considerable pressure, Reagan eventually relinquished his doubts and declared the third Monday of every January as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 1983. This is the first national holiday in commemoration of a black American in history. Even so, certain states refused to accept it as a holiday, giving it different names and replacing it with other holidays. It wasn't until 2000 that South Carolina became the last state to officially accept it as a paid holiday. On this day, we commemorate Dr. King's great dream of a vibrant, multiracial nation, united in justice, peace, and reconciliation. A nation that has a place at the table for children of every race, and a room at the inn for every needy child. We are called on this holiday not merely to honor, but to celebrate the values of equality, tolerance, and interracial sister and brotherhood he so compellingly expressed in his great dream for America. So again, I just thought a little informative, but I like the way it was written. And again, a couple of fast facts about who was in favor of and not, and how long it took to become a law for us. Next thing I had on here was a thank you from our friends at the Worth Township. We actually just recently, and I apologize, I don't have the name of the donor, but we made a considerable donation to the Worth Township in their coat drive that we do in the foyer here at the Village Hall, and we thank the donors for participating in that. And I got a letter on behalf of the Worth Township. They'd like to thank everyone for your very generous donation to their gently used coat and outerwear drive. As winter sets in, many more families will come to the township looking to find something warm to wear and help keep warm this winter. They have many families who come to the township looking for assistance with coats and outerwear for their children for the winter time who are experiencing financial difficulties. Because of people like those in Alsip, we are able to keep many families warm from our Chicago winters. Again, the township said they really appreciate our kindness, thoughtfulness, and generosity. Again, thank you for assisting us in helping a local community. Again, Worth Township oversees 12 suburbs, so it's not just Alsip residents. Many people participate in that. Trustees, I also want to invite everybody. I'll send you all an email as well. Saturday, March 10th is a breakfast for elected officials. Paul Lisnick from WJN is the political analyst, and this is sponsored through the Southwest Conference of Mayors Local Government Expo of 2018. I'll put some information in everybody's mailbox if you'd like to join me on Saturday the 10th. I just met a gentleman out in the hallway here too. My third thing on here was last week at the committee we had we discussed the need for possibly a second accountant. I did not put that on tonight's agenda. I do want to talk about that at our next committee meeting on the 29th. And then lastly, last week at the end of the week, we had a situation that we discussed, again, over on with Polmax, one of the larger trucking firms in town, and we had a resident bring to our attention there was excessive smoke from like semi-trucks coming across the road where they live on Lockwood Street. I went there last week with the building commissioner, and we determined that particular truck was, Roger, how far do we say that truck was?
Well over 600 feet away.
It's a good football field, yeah, from the house. But nonetheless, today my assistant and I, Becky, is working on a study right now. We're going to take a look at an idea. I understand it's private property and so forth, but we're going to look at an idea too. If there's any distances that maybe we can adopt, and obviously with the industrial association at the same time, to see where these trucks should be located as opposed to, a residential community, and go from there then too. Something fair, something that we can take from another community to say we're not just going to pull something out of the sky, because we do have a couple. Becky gave me a couple things today, just based on an Illinois Center for Transportation. There's a trucker study. Currently in Illinois, there are truck idling laws, and I did just confirm with our public work director, even diesel trucks have emissions that they need to get by too. So unfortunately, there is smoke, but they have to pass emissions as cars do to be on the street to begin with. And the owners of that trucking firm did show us there's a better name for it, Roger, but it was like a clean air.
Clean air idling.
Right.
Clean air startup.
So we're looking at that as well, but we're trying to do what we can to help those residents over in that either that neighborhood or any other, for that matter, then too. We'll do what we can to help out. But in Illinois, we do have laws like in Cook County. You can let your truck idle for 30 minutes with any 30 minutes within a 60-minute period waiting to weigh or load some freight. There's no limit when it's less than, as Trustee Pierce pointed out recently, there's no limit when it's less than 32 degrees for heat or more than 80 degrees for air conditioning for these trucks. And there are fines associated with that, $50 in the first conviction, $150 on the second and subsequent convictions within a 12-month period. So we're trying to do what we can to try and help out those residents, but it's going to take just a little more time. And again, we're looking at some programs right now for that. Going back to your agendas, number one on my request this evening, I'm going to pull number one off the agenda. This would be letter number A on the agendas this evening. At the request of our attorney, Joe Kankar. He's speaking with Comcast right now, and he's got a more, while we were going to adopt what Comcast came in to present to us, a mirror of what we approved in 2008, Trustee Kankar said he's looking at something a little more current, and it's not ready for approval yet, so we'll bring this up at the next board meeting.
Congratulations on your election.
Joe Kankar, sorry about
Promotion.
that. Sorry about that. Promotions you get, So anyway, Attorney Joe Kankar is working on that right now, so we're going to pull that from the agenda. Next, number two, request for an approval to create a Class E liquor license for a new Italian restaurant, soon to be known as Rocky's Place, with a location at 4002 West 127th Street in Alsip. Number three is a request for approval to create a Class A liquor license. And just so everybody knows, too, a Class E is just beer and wine. A Class A is all liquor license for a video gaming cafe to be owned by George Pappas with a location at 12205 South Pulaski in Alsip. And number four is a request for approval to create a Class A liquor license as well for a video gaming cafe to be owned by Murray Weiss with a location at 4845 West 111th Street in Alsip as well. That's all I've got for this evening. Clerk's report.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. We put in everybody's packet the request, an outline of the new schedule going forward, a request for approval of the revised schedule for board and committee meetings for 2018. Just a couple of dates I wanted to point out to you. Wanted to make sure that you noted July 2nd, as that is the Monday of a holiday week. September 4th is the Tuesday, as September 3rd is Labor Day. And then also we did the last committee meeting for December 26th, which is a Wednesday. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any committee meeting until like the second week of January next year because of the holidays. And the second item I have is a request for approval of a refund of a transfer stamp that was double paid in error in the amount of $227.50 to Anthony Krimbazewski for PIN number 24-26-312-009-1040. The village had provided that the transfer stamp for this property had not been previously paid when payment was made on January 5th, 2018. A receipt is attached. The original address on the first payment was recorded in error. And that is all I have, Mayor Ryan.
Okay, thanks. Attorney's report, we have Mike Kankar with us this evening.
No report, sir.
Okay. Engineer's report.
Recommendation of partial payment to Brothers Asphalt in the amount of $311,644.45. These we can't go over. The remainder will be paid out.
I appreciate that. Well, they're okay with that too, right? Okay. Great. Next, the public forum. Would anyone in the audience wish to address the board on anything on our agenda this evening? No one? Thank you. Standing committee reports. Finance Committee, Trustee McGlohorn.
I have a request for approval of a list of payroll dated January 5th, 2018, totaling $401,205.59. I also have a request for approval of accounts payable dated January 15th, 2018 In the recap, general fund, $646,695.07. Road and bridge, $53,515.13. MFT, $2,400.43. 911, $7,874.88. Pulaski Road Corridor TIF, $12,328.55. Water and sewer, $404,717.42. Heritage 2, $35,186.34, for a grand total of all funds of $1,162,717.82. And that's all I have under finance.
Thank you. A fire report, Trustee McLaughlin.
All right, I have a request for approval of the monthly report for December 2017 based on the National Fire Incident Reporting System data. For the month of December, we had a grand total of 274 calls. And I'm skipping the details on that one so that we can talk about the annual report. So I have a request for approval for the 2017 annual report based on the National Fire Incident Reporting System, and this covers the period of January 1, 2017 through 12/31 of 2017. In total, we had 31 structure fires, 22 vehicle fires, and 19 other fires for a grand total fires of 72. We also had 2 pressure rupture, explosion, or overheat calls. Under rescue calls, we had a total of 2,247 requiring emergency medical treatment. We also had 10 other rescue calls for a total of 2,257 total rescue calls. We had a total of 117 hazardous condition calls, 262 service calls, 240 good intent calls, 3 special incident calls. Under false calls, we had 1 malicious call. What would a malicious call entail?
Somebody pulled a fire alarm by, they purposely did it.
Oh, okay. We had a total of 390 other calls for a total of 391 false calls. Grand total all calls for the year came to 3,344. We also had total reported fire loss of $906,210. And on the bright side, we only had 1 fire-related injury and no fatalities.
Very
That's
good.
all I have.
That's the best part, Chief. Nobody got hurt. Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. Police report, Trustee McGreal.
I have a request for approval to purchase 3 Ford police vehicles from Curry Motors from line item 101-240-421-7042. Bids were attached in the packets. I also have a request for approval to outfit the said 3 vehicles from Public Safety Direct from line item 101-2040-421-7040, not to exceed $50,000. Some equipment is to be recycled from the outgoing vehicles. I also have a request for approval of the December 2017 monthly report, a request for approval of a list of the bills, and a request for approval of the timesheets. And I'm going to ask Chief Miller to address the Police Department updates and discussion on GATSCO.
Most of the updates were discussed last week. I did make contact with Red Speed, Safe Speed, and ATS. They're going to be sending me informational packets. When I get those, I will forward them to the board, and then you guys can make decisions if you want presentations or whatnot. That's pretty much all I had.
Chief, I want to mention to the board as well, I got a quick tour Friday from Deputy Chief Schultz. You guys did a nice job refurbishing the room downstairs and making your new roll call room.
Yeah, once everything's completed, we'll bring you guys through for a walkthrough down there.
Yeah, I think it's great the way IT got in there and everything else looks great down. You guys did a nice job. At no additional cost to us. We had some seizure funds and stuff like that to pay for it.
Right.
Exactly. Thank you. Next, Public Work and Boat Launch Report. Trustee Juarez.
I have a request for approval of the November 2017 monthly activity report. Request for approval of December 2017 monthly activity report. Request for approval to purchase one new 2018 Ford F-550 dump truck through the Northwest Municipal Conference, Suburban Purchasing Cooperative SPC, and Carry Motors in the amount not to exceed $95,000. That's all.
The Building Committee Report. Trustee Zelinski.
Yes, I have a request for approval, list of bills, request for approval of timesheets, and also a request for approval of the December 2017 monthly report. That is all tonight.
The Water and Sewer Report. Trustee Dalzell.
The request for the approval resolution of the Village of Alsip authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Illinois acting by and through its Department of Transportation, which will provide for improvements to the intersection of 127 and Route 83. Request for authorization to replace the North Pump Station variable frequency drives 2 and 3 at a cost not to exceed $25,434.80. And Dan, just to be sure that the option 1, the drives were $14,000 and change, and the installation was that $25,000?
The installation is included in the 25 total, yes.
Okay, so you'd rather have the repair as opposed to purchasing new? It's a $525 difference in cost.
I'm looking at purchasing new.
Okay, then this should be the $25,957. Okay, so if we can change that, the request for authorization to replace the North Pump Station not to exceed $25,957.
Even.
And the request for authorization to have Robinson Engineering begin design engineering for the proposed water main replacement, the Pulaski Road Corridor TIF, and there's an RFQ committee scoring. And the request for approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 19. Why is that here?
You know what, Trustee, this was kind of part of they identified that this is the Route 83 and 127th Street.
Okay, you're right, I apologize. Request for approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 19, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 6, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Section 1989, Stopping, Standing, or Parking Prohibited in Specified Places, Municipal Code for the Village of Alsip, Illinois. And that's all I have, sir.
And again, for everyone in the public looking at your agendas there, number 4 actually ties with number 1. That ordinance was brought into play while they're doing all the work at 127th and Route 83. They're really trying to stipulate there's no parking there and whatnot, and this is why.
On the sides of the road, yeah.
Right. Next, License Committee. Trustee Juarez.
I'm sorry. Request for approval of a list of license dated January 15, 2018. That's all.
And just while I'm just looking at the word license, Trustee Pierce, you and I were talking yesterday. We do have a new business in town. They didn't get their license yet. We're on them right now. We're going to get that taken care of right away then, too. But thanks for bringing that to my attention. I didn't know.
Thanks.
Economic Development. Trustee Pierce.
We have a request for approval of the December activity report. That's all, Mayor.
The Plan and Zoning Committee. Trustee Zelinski.
No report this evening.
Special Committee Reports. Village Properties. Trustee McLaurin.
I have no report.
Insurance Committee. Trustee McGrail.
I have no report this evening.
Ordinance and Legislation. Trustee Pierce.
We have a request for approval of an ordinance establishing compensation for certain non-union employees and appointed officers of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois.
All right, thank you. Next, IT. Trustee Dalzell.
No report, Mayor.
And the Human Resource Committee. Trustee McGrail.
I have a request for approval of an ordinance mandated by the state of Illinois to address sexual harassment known as Public Act 100-0554. The Act amends the State Officials and Employees Ethics Act, including Section 70-5, which pertains to government entities. And last week we discussed that an employee can report to either they had three options, their supervisor, the police chief, or the HR manager. And the mayor was going to check with the attorney about the finance director, and it was replaced with mayor.
Yes.
I changed that and sent it out.
Yeah. So if everyone is okay with that. From the ones that I had looked at, most ordinances had two people that you could report to, and we already have three. So I'm not sure that we need the fourth option there, but I don't know what everybody else feels. I think the three are good. I'm not sure how comfortable everyone is to go somewhere else. So,
More than less.
yeah, and most of them have two, and we already have three. So I would just think,
Well, there'd be no waiting.
Right.
so,
And procedures for filing a complaint internally, any employee who feels he or she has been sexually harassed or who has witnessed the sexual harassment should immediately report the conduct. Complaints of sexual harassment should be made to the employee's supervisor, human resources, or the chief of police. If the person making the complaint does not feel comfortable making a complaint with these persons, the complaint can be made to the mayor. Every effort should be made to file complaints as soon as possible while the facts are known and potential witnesses are still available. All complaints of harassment are taken seriously and will be investigated promptly and confidentially as possible. Any employee who is found after appropriate investigation to have been in violation of this policy will be disciplined and subjected to corrective action up to and including termination from the village. If either the complaining or offending party disagrees with the decision, he or she may appeal the decision to the mayor. And that was the line that we corrected. It said finance director before.
correct.
Right, okay. Next.
I would just amend it to the three, but that would just be my suggestion.
I have no issues with the ordinance as it's written. I mean, if they're not comfortable going to those individuals, we're giving them an option.
I would agree with you, trustee.
Yeah, they should be comfortable going to those three, your supervisor, HR, or to the police chief. And most ordinances just have two, HR and the supervisor.
This is the way the state outlined this, though, too. We didn't interject this.
Well,
Go ahead.
I did a lot of these, but I got to think that the police chief is the odd one in there, frankly, and not just because it's Chief Miller. But I think that was probably already in what the village had. So we tried to...
It's probably how the finance director was in there too, right?
Right, but I changed that base because I kind of read it. But, I mean, really, if you want to make it just a human resource, it doesn't make much of a difference. The odd person in there, again, would be the chief of police. So but I don't know if that's a big deal or not.
Well, he's still a department head, but outside of cleaning up the ordinance, I mean, Mayor, you're going to find out you're the president of the community anyway, so
Exactly.
it's just if you feel like it needs to be cleaned up, but I'm okay with it too.
You're saying it needs to be cleaned up. I'm not.
No, I'm saying outside of just, I mean, if it's going through three people already and it has to go to a fourth, obviously there's a serious problem somewhere and somebody is getting harassed. I mean, nobody's going to go through all that and have nothing be done. Who's going to go to the department head and human resources and the police chief and not get anything resolved? Like I said, there's already going to be a lawsuit by the time Chief Miller hears about it if that's the way it's going. So, like I said, if you feel more comfortable being part of that mix, I mean, you're going to find out about it anyway because you're over all
I
the
would think I
department
should.
heads anyway.
I'm still the village president. I'm still over all the people you just mentioned here.
And whether
too.
it's written in here or not, you're still going to be part of it. So, like I said, I'm fine with the way it is unless you feel like cleaning it up. So.
No, I like the way it was drafted by the attorney. Health and pollution report, Trustee Pierce.
Request for approval of the December 2017 inspection and citation report. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And the traffic safety report, Trustee Dalzell.
No report, Mayor.
Any presentations, petitions, or communications? Next, would anyone like to remove any of the items from the consent agenda?
I would like to remove items C and D, and I would like to refer it to the Planning and Zoning Committee.
C as in Charlie, D as in David.
Yes.
And you want to do what?
I want to refer it to the Planning and Zoning Committee.
Planning and zoning don't oversee that.
Yeah,
Not zoned B3.
I believe that's accurate. They're not zoned B3.
Right. All we're asking here, all we're asking the board to do with this request is the approval to create an A-class license. In other words, they won't get that license until the property is rezoned, but you're not going to put them through a rezoning process unless the ultimate goal is to get a gaming license. This costs hundreds of dollars to go for a rezoning. We're not approving anything at this point. They haven't even applied for a liquor license yet. So we're not going to start charging these people money.
You and I talked about this, Mayor, last Wednesday night, I believe, or Thursday. I thought we were on the same page with this, but I was reached out to by current and former members of the Planning Zoning Commission that said we're backwards on this. So I'm going to ask the attorney for his opinion on this. I mean, you're asking us to basically create a liquor license for an address that's not zoned. And this has nothing to do with whether or not, for it or not. It's just, it's not zoned for that right now. So I'm asking the attorney for advice here because I'm new at this. And I was reached out to, like I said, by two that said, you guys are really backwards on this. This is not the route you should be taking. It should have gone to planning and zoning first.
I'll make a general comment. You have this B3 classification. As far as I can see, it's everything that's in a B1, except you have to have a B3 to sell alcohol. And zoning regulates the use of land, and for purposes of a zoning ordinance, whether you serve liquor or don't serve liquor at the same restaurant shouldn't make a difference. I mean, I think the whole B3 thing is kind of, this isn't answering your question necessarily, but just my own little comment that nobody asked me to chime in on. But I feel it's really kind of silly, frankly. I've never seen anything where people who need a special rezoning just because they sell liquor. If you don't want liquor there, you don't give them a liquor license. I mean, it's the liquor license, but that's not what the situation. That's just my comment. But really, you can. I think the mayor's point is that he doesn't want to see these people spend money to go through a rezoning if they're not going to get a liquor license, and yours like, well, you can't get a liquor license unless you're properly zoned, and that's true too. So I think you're
Is
both
it
right.
accurate to remove C and D?
Pardon me?
Well, wait.
I think you're talking about something else.
Yeah, so
more general question. I thought.
So Mike, my point exactly to these, these two members, and in their opinion was that what's the purpose of planning and zoning? I mean, the planning part of planning and zoning. Their opinion, and this is not my opinion. I'm just shared with me by people that have sat on these boards for a long time, is that by us having discussions, about this without rezoning it, we're already biased. So, by voting on it and then sending it to them, basically it's a done deal already. I mean, they would probably not come back to us and say that's not a good idea, or it is a good idea. So I guess I'm asking for a teaching lesson here too. I mean, are we? I mean, in going forward, should we be going that route, or I mean, Is this the right way to do it? And for the record, I'm just going to state it right now, I'm okay with both of these.
Mhm. I think sometimes you got to watch too, as far as, and that was the reason why I put this on first, is to ask the question. We haven't approved any liquor license, just the idea of creating one for this purpose. And a lot of times, like we just had one a few months ago, where we had the Planning and Zoning Committee gave us a unanimous yes on rezoning some property right here at 122nd and Cicero that would extend an auto car dealership over there. They would extend their property basically into a residential area. It was unanimous, and when it got to us, we said no. But yet we charged that gentleman almost $400 to $500 for that to happen, and basically it was for what? For what result? You know. And there was half this board. It was almost it wasn't like a super close one, but there were members here in favor of. So again, do you charge? Do you take businesses, charge them money for an opinion of the? It's still going to go to Planning and Zoning Commission anyway. They could say no and say it's a bad idea, and you know they would still pay that money. But knowing the ultimate goal, because of what the state's requirements are, you need a liquor license to get to that point. And that's my point here is, you know, basically the idea that we're not going to like bring a whole commission in, bring in court reporters and everything else if you weren't going to give them a liquor license anyway. What's the point?
Well, back to Trustee Pierce's point, though, is that if the premise of planning and zoning is to do the planning and the zoning, and if the opinion of the attorney, which I can see as well, that a B1 equals a B3, and the B3 has a caveat of an alcohol license with it, but really it's not in their purview to grant liquor, it's a hell of a catch, this catch-22.
I got a question for Mayor and Attorney. If say we go, hypothetically, we go ahead and we vote on this, what safeguards do the trustees have? You said this was to create a liquor license. So now that there's one there, if for some reason planning and zoning denies them the B3 zoning?
No. And I'd be happy to put a caveat in there, trustee, that no license would be issued unless planning and zoning.
Not just issued, but we've already created it. It has to be.
They still have to do a whole process of applying for it and everything else yet, too.
I understand that, but once it's created, it's there.
No.
Yes.
Once
we create, because we're just increasing the number of
create it,
licenses.
We can increase the number, but it's earmarked for that particular property. That's the whole idea on this.
So my question is, if it gets turned down by planning and zoning, and we don't have that option to give it to that PIN number or address, we can dissolve the license.
That's what I was starting to say. That I put that caveat.
We still have that option. Planning and zoning is an advisory.
Right.
It's this board that renders.
We
the
still
decision.
ultimately approve their recommendation anyway. They're just a recommendation. So it
Right,
has
and
to,
they're
it has
supposed
to
to be
come back to us
recommending
anyway.
before we vote on anything, really. They're supposed to be doing their job before we do ours, because they're recommending to us whether they would agree for or against the liquor license.
So to solve this, the reality is that what we should be doing is reviewing the B1, B3, removing the B3 aspect of it, and then controlling everything by the liquor license.
Well, that
seems to be the simplest solution.
I was told that when the new attorneys first came on, that as and for anyone that wasn't understanding what the attorney was saying is, most of our business community is zoned B1. It's strictly business. Anytime you bring in liquor, it's considered B3. You have liquor there. By rights, the whole place should be B3, and we just qualify, the applicant as they come. But that's not the case. Every time something like this comes up, we have to rezone like a particular parcel of land, that kind of thing, too. And it just really makes it difficult, because all that could have been done as a general way back when, but it wasn't. And again, as a new administration or a new board, we're faced with challenges like this from time to time.
Surprised you haven't faced this challenge years ago. I mean, this isn't the first liquor license we're creating.
True.
Or this town has created, so.
True. And, I don't have the records on what was done. I mean, I was on the board for 6 years. We don't have all the instances there. But, again, even in the past, we never had a problem with a request like that to do so. And, again, if the board doesn't approve the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Committee, it's not going to happen anyway. That's what I'm saying. You have to at least you at least have to approve the idea that the final goal of what these businesses are asking for and then come back to it with the approval, with the recommendation, rather, of the commission, of the Plan and Zoning Commission. Nothing's getting done without it.
I'm okay with it as long as we could retract it if they deny
Oh,
it.
sure.
Still won't prepare the ordinance.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, the attorney still has to prepare the ordinance. I keep doing that to you.
That's right.
That's all right.
The attorney still has to prepare an ordinance. So I mean, nothing's happening without that ordinance coming into play.
That's why I posed the question to both of you.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, this just authorizes me to prepare, I interpret this authorizing me to prepare the ordinance. You still have to vote on the ordinance to create the extra
Yeah,
liquor
this is
license.
just asking to create one. There's no ordinance yet, and we don't have a plan and zoning approval yet either.
I'll withdraw my request to refer, but I do want a separate vote.
That's fine.
And also, I would like
Any other?
letter W.
Can we have a separate vote for item U also, please?
Trustee, letter U?
Please.
So could I recap real quick the items that have been removed?
Sure.
I have removal of item A by the mayor. I have removal of item C like Charlie, D like David by trustee Juarez. I have removal of letter U by trustee Dalzell. And I have removal of letter W from trustee McGrail.
Pardon me?
Yes, there's a typo there. Yep. Okay.
Oh, V is in Victor he's talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that all of the items to be removed?
Motion to establish the consent agenda?
I'll second.
Roll call number 1 to establish the consent agenda. Again, removing letters A, C, D, U/V, and W. Trustee McGreal.
Yes.
And I apologize too. Item P, we're amending that dollar amount.
Yes. To $25,957 even, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I will fill all that information in when we...
I apologize.
That's okay. Trustee Dalzell?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez?
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin?
Yes.
Motion carries to establish.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay.
Who got that first?
Monica did.
Roll call number 2 to approve the consent agenda, filling in the remaining items. Letter H is approval of a list of payroll dated January 5th, 2018, totaling $401,205.59. Letter I is approval of a list of accounts payable dated January 15th, 2018, totaling $1,162,717.82. Letter O, approval of a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement by and between the Village of Alsip and the State of Illinois, by and through the Illinois Department of Transportation, to use shared funding to improve the Illinois Route 83 right-of-way at or about 127th Street in the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, and appropriating funds therefore, will be known as Resolution Number 2018-1-R-1. Letter P, approval for authorization to replace North Pump Station V, as in Victor, F as in Frank, D as in David, drives 2 and 3, at a cost not to exceed $25,957 even. Letter R, approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 19, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 6, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Section 19-89, stopping, standing, or parking prohibited in specific places of the municipal code for the Village of Alsip, Illinois. will be known as ordinance number 2018-1-2. Roll call number 2, Trustee McGrill.
Yes.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. We'll go back to the items that were removed from the agenda. Again, letter A, I table that until the next committee meeting for discussion. Next, letter C, Trustee Juarez pulled the approval to create a Class A liquor license for video gaming cafe to be owned by George Pappas with a location at 12205 South Pulaski in Alsip. Trustee asked for a separate vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. Can we call the roll, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call number 3, approval to create a Class A liquor license for a video gaming cafe to be owned by George Pappas with a location at 12205 South Pulaski in Alsip. Trustee McGrill.
No.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
Thank you. Next, letter D was the approval to create a Class A liquor license for a video gaming cafe to be owned by Murray Weiss with a location at 4845 West 111th Street in Alsip. And Trustee Juarez asked for a separate vote on that as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Trustee Dalzell.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Pierce. Roll call number 4, approval to create a Class A liquor license for a video gaming cafe owned by Murray Weiss with a location at 4845 West 111th Street in Alsip. Trustee McGrill.
No.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
No.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-2.
Thank you. Next, letter U, approval of an ordinance establishing compensation for certain non-union employees and appointed officers of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. That was pulled by Trustee Dalzell.
Separate vote, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Can we get a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Trustee Pierce.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Trustee McLaughlin.
You.
2018-1.
Roll call number 5, approval of an ordinance establishing compensation for certain non-union employees and appointed officers of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. Trustee McGrill.
Abstain?
Trustee Dalzell.
Abstain.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Abstain.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
You're going to have to vote because it's an ordinance.
Mayor Ryan.
You're right.
I'll vote yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And then, obviously, yeah, U and W are the same thing. And then we had,
U and V.
right, I apologize, U and V are the same thing. And then letter
Madam
W.
Clerk, sorry, the ordinance number on that?
I'm sorry. It would be known as ordinance number 2018-1-3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McLaughlin.
Lastly, letter W, approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 15.5 Personnel, Article 1 in general, Section 15.5-9, Sexual Harassment, Prohibition to the, of the Municipal Code of the Village of Alsip. That was pulled by Trustee McGrill.
Yes, Mayor. I know that has to be passed today by January 15th, and it was going to be revised, but unfortunately we didn't get the revision before the, agenda was posted, and I had to contact you, so I don't think the committee had time to review the change that was made, so I just wanted a separate vote.
Fine, can I get a motion, please, and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Sure.
We can approve this tonight because we have to have one on the books, and we can revisit it and make a change. So we just have to have one on the books tonight
Correct.
by midnight. So I mean,
Correct.
I agree. We just didn't. We
We were told last month, a week ago, though, that it was going to be revised, and we didn't get the revision.
But
So I know it has to be passed, and it will be passed, I'm sure.
but we can revisit it.
Okay.
So
So I have a first by trustee McLaughlin and a second by trustee Dizelle, is that correct? Okay. Roll call number 6 to approve approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 15 and a half Personnel, Article 1 in general, Section 15.5-9, Sexual Harassment Prohibition of the Municipal Code of the Village of Alsip. Trustee McGrill.
No.
Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce.
yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
No.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-2. This will now be known as ordinance number 2018-1-4.
Any unfinished business? Any new business? Before we adjourn to executive session, I need a call for a closed session. This is the a request. I'd like to request to enter into closed session to discuss collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or the representatives, or deliberations regarding salary schedules for one or more classes of employees pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2 C number 2. And again, it was requested by myself for this meeting, and we'll adjourn from there. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Is there anything that we're going to discuss afterwards?
No.
Okay, so we're going to
We're adjourning
adjourn
to executive session. Yes.
Okay. Second.
I'm sorry, who was the first?
Mayor proposed it?
I propose that somebody has to,
I'll make the motion.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn into closed session, request to enter into closed session to discuss collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations regarding salary schedules for one or more classes of employees pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2 C2. Roll call number 7. Trustee McGrill?
Yes?
Trustee Dalzell?
Yes.
Trustee Pierce?
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez?
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin?
Yes.
Motion carries to go to executive session.
Great. Thank you for joining us this evening, folks. Nothing else will be voted on tonight. We're going to just have a closed session for a short meeting. But thank you again for being here.